Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to the Walter Bosley channel. And it is Wednesday again. And we are gathered here for another interesting episode, I think. Very interesting episode. I'm waiting for Melissa to connect. I think there's some technical difficulties going on at that end. But as soon as she connects, we'll be bringing her in and having a very interesting discussion tonight. Let's go see who's in the live chat already. I've watched you gather. Megalith was the first one here. Hello, Megalith. Then D. Dorothy Papineau. Johnny Sides here. And I see Melissa popping in there. So I'll be bringing her in just a second. Rui and more people are going to be gathering. So, Melissa, can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to be bringing you here in just a second. I'm going to give a little intro. Okay. My guest tonight is someone I have known for over 5 years, actually. I appeared in a show in which she was I say director. In TV, the director's job is called a producer, and that's the person what in film we would call directing. But you guys, I think most of you know that by now. And that resulted in about a year later, we kind of signed on together to pursue making this book and its sequels into something. And actually, we're going to be talking about what that something is. So let me, Melissa Tittl is not just a producer and director. She's CEO of Hathor Studios, her own studio label, folks. Okay, this woman, an amazing talent, great vision, and also a very sharp businesswoman as well. So I'm very glad to be pursuing this Empire of the Wheel thing with her. So I'm going to bring Melissa in now. Hello, Melissa.
Hi. How are
Hey.
you?
Good. We've both had a couple of busy days in a row.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, I should have done something with myself.
I just jumped out of the shower, to be honest. So I've got the messed up hair.
I have crazy hair.
We actually had a meeting yesterday on our little venture, but you folks at home will have to wait to find out the results of that later. Melissa, why don't we start with you? Let's start with you. Tell us about your career before we met when I was on something at Gaia.
And decline. Why are people calling me so late at East Coast time? Okay, so before that, I worked in Hollywood for, 14, 15 years. I've worked for I've worked on a show that was in every single network you can think of. I even worked at Paramount Studios for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left the big city of stars and lights in Hollywood and went to take the position of head of content at Gaia. And I was at the beginning stages of that when it transferred over from Gaia to Gaia, the actual network. So that was like one of the first people hired to kind of get the ship moving. And then I left there, as he said, and I founded Hathor Studios. And now I'm in my second year and we're starting our fourth film. And we also work with lots of contributors like Walter and different people in the field, helping them put together really cool shows on their stuff. And one of the reasons why I decided to go and start my own company, which is very difficult. It's not very easy.
Right.
And it's your own company. It all feels awesome until you realize you're responsible for everybody and your whole staff and yourself. And all the projects and raising the money and all that stuff. But what I noticed in Hollywood, and even in my stint at Gaia, was that everything is still controlled by one person's vision of what reality should be. And I think that for the consciousness of the planet to evolve in not one direction, but be able to raise that level of consciousness, we just need new stories out there. We need a new perspective. And it's just not getting through in mainstream. It's just the same people are greenlighting the same stories that tell the same thing over and over and over again. And we're actually not getting any new material to then start to get into our consciousness. And the easiest way to get into our consciousness and to have new thoughts about how reality could be is through, I think, art and TV and film.
Oh, agreed. I will say that I heard a report today that it's kind of a good sign on maybe what we might be getting from big Hollywood, and that is another major studio, and I think more than one, several, have pulled out of the Comic-Con, right? And the San Diego Comic-Con. And why that's significant, folks, is Hollywood really came into the San Diego Comic-Con in a big way starting in 2005. And by 2009, they were solidly in there. And look what we've had for the last, dozen years. A lot of superhero movies and things like that. And that's beginning to wane in the public interest, I think. So I think it's significant that they've pulled out of the San Diego Comic-Con in the big way that they have, because, maybe they're going to start looking for some of these other stories, like you're talking about. And you have a film that you've been making the rounds with, Code 12. Tell us about that.
Yes. So Code 12 is something I've been working on for quite some time, meaning the research of it. And so we all have a reason why we're in this work, right? Like why,
Yep.
Walter, you write the books that you do or explore the
Yep.
topics that you do. And then who's ever listening, there's just something that draws you into this. There's a question you've been asking yourself. You had an experience. There's parts of you that want to know something, and whatever that is. And of course, I'm no different than any of you. And there was a part of my life that I kept having a weird dream with all these symbols and these numbers. And this was like, I don't know, since I was a kid. And I just got into this field, and I started over the course of 10 years, started really seeing this pattern playing out in all these different storylines, whether it was mythology, it was art, it was in ancient temples. It was in telling me about UFO and alien stories. It was with biology and DNA and quantum physics. And I'm like, what is this thing that keeps showing up, and what does it mean? So I went on this research journey, and that is what the documentary is. And I kind of unravel some cool things. And my what we're really diving into here is simulation theory. Because if we do live in a simulation theory, then patterns that we see, that we come in contact with, that we are subjected to, or that we find ourselves in all the time, makes a lot more sense, because we are part of a simulation, a creation of some people call it ancestor creation. So we get into that, and it's really interesting. So there's two things that I discovered. One, which could be the simulation that is discovered, and then a way out of it, which is another interesting conversation, because I feel like we always talk about like the doomsday, like Anunnaki came over and changed all DNA, and we've been screwed ever since, and there's no way out. But I think there might be a way out.
Well, that doesn't that sound like something that somebody wants us to believe, that there's nothing you can do, there's no way out, don't even try. And look what happens when people try. They meet a lot of resistance. So it could be that they just want us to go with a particular simulation, and what's on the other side of the veil, what's there for us on the other side of the veil that's been put in front of us.
Right. And you have access to that at any time.
Oh yeah.
How it works. And so it's just really interesting. I think it's really interesting because for me, it's also like, I love Indiana Jones, right? You always look for the lost relics. books, and we have an element of that in this film, and it's exciting because I think we're talking about what all of these people that I have all their books behind me,
Yeah.
the people that are in this space that I've read, and I thought, wow, this is so interesting. And I think that everybody has a piece of the puzzle, and I'm trying to bring all of it into what's the bigger story, and that's really what this documentary is about. So I'm
Well,
super proud of it, and I'm looking.
yeah, yeah. You've been winning awards with it too, right? Or
Yeah,
having a lot of attention at festivals.
yeah, we've got 6 or 7 awards. We're gonna go back into the film festival circuit coming into fall. So we'll let you
Oh,
know.
excellent. Looking forward
And
to
we're
hearing more about that.
hitting up all
Um,
the major networks and trying to get it out there.
how soon will it be available for, the general public?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, right now we're
Hmm.
just trying to negotiate a bigger buy,
Right.
and if there's certain storytelling techniques that you can that mainstream recognizes, and they're like, okay, this kind of fits with how we tell stories, but this is slightly different. I'm
Uh-huh.
hoping that my little way of presenting that will work, and we will be on a mainstream network, and that'll be awesome. But if it isn't,
Excellent.
I'm gonna release it on Amazon.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm in a little bit of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing, put together. Because it really is. It's a fascinating concept, and it really attempts to show. You talk about everybody's got a different view, a different piece of the mystery. It's like the blind man in the room with the elephant, right? We're all examining a different part of the elephant. So to each of us, an elephant is a different thing, right? The guy examining the tail is going to say an elephant is long and skinny, and comes to a point. And the guy examining the leg, no, an elephant is big round thing. And yet all of these things, the trunk included, the tusk, all of these things are that one elephant. And I think that your view that which I share, that you have this big thing that everybody's bringing their pieces to the puzzle, to put together. Certainly, the stuff that I've stumbled into, I've always recognized as just a part or little parts of something bigger, definitely, which I think is tied together through synchronicities. Now, in Code 12, you don't have to say too much, or more about it than you want to, but you have this interesting hypothesis in there, I believe, that serves to tie some things together, places, and you know.
Uh, yes, definitely. I'm gonna save that one, Walter. Though.
Okay.
That's
I don't want to. I don't
um,
want to give away too much.
Yeah, but when you watch the movie, you
Hmm.
can always go to my site too, because we'll give updates of when the next screening is. If you go
Oh,
to
okay, great.
code12themovie.com,
Hmm.
you'll see like the trailer and everything, and then it'll show like where it's screening at a film festival for free
Okay.
or whatever.
Okay.
Um, but yes, Walter. This is a little backstory, so when you do watch the movie, you can know a
Hmm.
little bit about it. Walter had this contact who I just thought was so interesting. He got me a copy of his book because it's a rare publishing. I think there's only 2 books of it, and I was super obsessed with it. And I'm not going to say his name because I'm not sure if I'm supposed to, but he has all these maps laid out about the ley lines and patterns throughout not only America but the world, and specifically it caught my eye. There was a map
Hmm.
that Walter sent me of America, and it had all the ley lines and all the places.
Yeah.
So when people say like I was in Sedona and it's so spiritual and there's definitely a vortex there, um, there's definitely a lot of energy there, but there's some more interesting points that you wouldn't necessarily go to because it's spiritual. At
Right.
one point, it might have had that energy, but somebody might have changed it. And this is an interesting
Right.
thing that Walter and I went through. And I noticed that there was a pattern in where these places were and how much
Hmm.
was being generated and what those places represent to us now in America. And this is really interesting because if somebody really knows how to magically control those main veins of energy, this is energy you feel. This is an energy that necessarily comes into a consciousness. It's just something that because you're part of the earth, that you feel. And if you can program something to have a certain feeling, then then you're kind of controlling the population a little bit. And this was something that Walter and I went back and forth with. And so this is in the movie, and this is pretty interesting. That's all I have to say.
It's very interesting. And by the way, my audience is very familiar with the gentleman you're talking about and his
Oh,
work.
okay. All right.
And I got to tell you, I don't think he'll mind. He might be watching right now. He has since been a guest on this show a couple of times. And let me tell you, Seshari is his name. They all know him well. And you guys don't know this. I'm letting a little cat out of the bag. I hope Sesh doesn't mind. I don't think he will. But he's been writing a lot more. And I have what must be 6 or 7 new works since his last. And we're about to be releasing 4 or 5 more in the next 4 or 5 of those in the next year. So Sesh is back in the public discourse with us fairly recently. So yeah, folks, Seshari's analysis, handprint of Atlas, all of that, that factored into Melissa's thinking as she was, as this vision she had kind of emerged from her analysis of all of this in these places. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing the film. So it should be a lot of fun and thought-provoking.
It's going to be close. I'm just negotiating some things, so I can't say anything.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. There was one little thing before, and folks, we will be talking about Empire of the Wheel and, to the extent that we can, because, there's some interesting stuff there. There's always some interesting things that I haven't shared, but a lot of people in this community, they, we all have different ideas. We all, we don't agree on all of them. And briefly, what, as far as that goes with the ideas and the hypotheses and the different speculations out there, your experience of working with all these hypotheses, because clearly you're interested in these topics yourself personally, but the time you were at Gaia, you saw a lot of these folks and met a lot of them. And what was the biggest thing you came away with from your experience there, other than Empire of the Wheel, of course?
At Gaia?
Yeah, at Gaia. What impressed you most about your experience
that's
there?
that's a trilogy series right there. But what impressed me the most? I think I kind of look at this community, right? It's always called a community of people that are in conscious thought process, whatever that means. But and that means everyone from spirituality to healing to government conspiracy to aliens to the gamut of like a different way of thinking. We'll put it that way. So the community, it feels like everyone has a calling, and that's really in an interesting place to be when working on a regular show and you're trying to get a show done. People are there to get the show done. There's no calling, they want to make more money, they want to have a better title, they want to make the show good, and they want to create more contacts in the field. But to be around a group of people who have been invited to come and speak about their rare book or their rare find, or you're giving you're bringing a community together that wouldn't necessarily sometimes find each other on a different level. So that was pretty cool. It was actually, it was pretty cool. No matter if I believed in the stuff that they were talking about or not, I just think that that's interesting. And I always felt like it's a little bit like the TV show Lost. Like there's an island and we all got washed up on it, and we're not really sure why we're here, and we all have a piece of the truth, right? I mean, even in putting out my own work, I don't feel like I have all the answers, even though I have the 20 million mile view of like looking at everybody and everything in every book, right? But I think we all have a piece of the truth. And that's
Right.
pretty cool. That's just pretty cool to be around all of that. Like, and what drove somebody to write
Sure.
that book and or do that research? It's so
Well,
cool.
I think it's important for the viewers here, the audience, to realize, a lot of times people get an impression that, be it any channel or whatever, be it Gaia, be it Netflix, be it ESPN, that people get a view that everybody there all believes in the same things the same way, and they're behind everything that comes out. And you just said something important. People have to keep in mind that your job there was being a producer, you know and it doesn't mean that you agreed with every conclusion or every point of a hypothesis in a given show. You were doing your job.
Mhm.
And I just, a lot of people ask about that. The Gaia is a point of conversation and debate, or has been, because of obvious things the last few years. But
Obviously,
I
for various reasons, of course.
yeah, and I just think it's important for people to realize that someone like yourself, an industry professional, you've got experience in big Hollywood. You've got experience here and there, and being there was. In a sense, another job. Now, another job that you had, some more keen interest in the material, and that leads us into what everybody wants to hear us talk about, and that is that back in 2017, I believe I was on what was Sean Stone's show, Buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw, yeah.
Buzzsaw. I was on Buzzsaw talking about the Sonora Aero Club and Del Shaw, and Melissa was producing that, and she had expressed interest in Empire of the Wheel, right? And about a year later, 2018, she contacts me, and I thought I don't know if I ever told you this. When she called, I thought, because she had mentioned a documentary, and I thought, oh, okay, she wants to finally do a documentary, and then you said, oh no, I see this as a TV series, dramatic, and it just blew me away. I'm like, oh, she wants to do more with this. So that's when our association for Empire of the Wheel began, and I'll let you take it from here. What was your? Well, I'll ask you this: um, the time that you contacted me, and here's another interesting story I got to throw out. Um, when she contacted me, there was another producer, folks, that I had been working with for
Oh, yeah.
a year and a half, if you remember this, and he was wanting to develop. In fact, we had shot some footage for Shimmering Light, my book about my dad and MK Ultra and stuff. But he had initially contacted me about Empire of the Wheel. So I felt, when Melissa called me, I said, okay, let me call this guy just to make sure. So I called him, and short story version of the story was, he said, hey, do you mind if I ask, who it is? And I said, oh, it's Melissa Tittl. And he goes, oh, I know her. And then I called her back and said, hey, it's all yours. And by the way, this guy says he knows you. And anyway, it was a small world going on there.
It
So
is a small world. Yeah.
so let me ask you this. Between 2018, when you contacted me and you had this initial vision, and now, what how have your thoughts and perception and vision of this material changed for you?
Oh, wow. How has it changed?
Or developed, or between where you're at now and where we were at in 2018?
um Well, I have to say my big vision in my head of why the piece is important has never wavered. And this is something that I do talk to other people about, and Walter and I talked to some people on the phone about yesterday, is that I think what gives a piece, a scripted piece, a life beyond the characters and the good writing, and it's beautifully shot, and you love you just love like the story unraveling and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is that there's something behind it that is unseen, that has a purpose. And I mean, I think every writer writes something because they're trying to get something across. But I really saw Walter's work with the Empire Wheel and the trilogy of this unraveling of early America and these groups that that were involved with the separation of these different groups that we have today. You know, like whether you want to call that, you know, we all know what the FBI and the CIA is, but there's lots of other groups we don't really know what their title is. We also don't really know how all these groups work together. So, for instance, there's 4 divisions of military, but within those 4 divisions of military, you have different sections that, you know, this, Walter, that may work with other groups or not, right? So you have all these divisions of these different different groups, and how those got formed in early America is a
Oh, there we go. Sorry, the tech went out.
Must have been the internet or something.
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah, we're back. We're back. You'll have to go back about 30 seconds or so.
Oh,
Sorry
no.
about that.
Okay. Okay. Well, should I start over?
Yeah,
Okay.
as over as you want to.
Cool. Somebody's watching a zombie movie like in the next couple of rooms, so I don't know if you can hear that. No one is dying.
I've got a fan on here. I don't know if anyone can hear that.
Okay. So somebody can hear all that. No one is dying in my house. There's just a zombie movie going on in the back.
Great.
No, I don't know where I left off, and I don't know if anybody heard anything I said.
You were talking about there's a life of something, and
Yeah. So this.
what was that?
I think they heard her. There
Oh, okay. They might have heard you.
God, you don't want to hear me repeat myself. Anyway, so I think understanding the America that we have now
Mm-hmm.
is a really important thing to go back in time to where all these factions started to chip away at kind of the structure of what was late 1800s, early 1900s, and this is a really relevant piece that lends itself to when we ask ourselves, how do we get ourselves in this mess, or how is this doing what it's doing right now in America? I think this really shows us how that got into that place, how we've created that much division, how we've created these sections that have alternative motives, using some of them using esoteric means to do so. And so, you know, this piece, you know, you can go any direction, right? I've been in a million pitch meetings, so it's either like they really like the supernatural aspect of it, or they really love the esoteric aspect of it, or they really like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or they really like the government conspiracy, or, you know,
Right.
whatever. There's just so much. But the thing is, the heart of it is
Mm-hmm.
kind of showing where we are right now in the America that we live. This is kind of like an unraveling of that, like a ripple effect that happened from the events that are in Walter's book. And I think that's an important thing.
And you know, I've come away, and others have told me this. And you know, what's interesting is, you know, Rick Spence, by the way, who co-wrote this with me, his experience from when he started working on the book, the first book with me, to the time we finished, he you know, he has said to others that and to me that, you know, he didn't put much stock in synchronicity until he looked at this case and this information, and it changes your perception of historical reality and what's going on. And I think you hit on something very important that Rick and I discussed when working on the first book, that Seshari and I have discussed, Dr. Joseph Farrell and I have discussed, and that is what was done, whatever it was exactly, what was done here in San Bernardino in 1915 has, in my personal opinion and the opinion of a few other close associates, it has a direct connection to what you're talking about, what we're going through today. And, you know, in the second and third books, I tried to show that connection, and I continue to do so in the research. And I think that your vision of the series that's going to be from it is probably going to be the best opportunity so far to demonstrate exactly what you're talking about, because, you know, the visual medium, you can say so much in one image that takes pages and pages of words otherwise. And this is why I think this series, it's going to be more than just a dramatization. It's going to be a lot of food for thought for people to rethink the narrative on the history of, in particular, the era you're talking about, the late 19th century into the early 20th, because they're going to see that it has a direct impact on our times today, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's just some revealing things that I think are just so relevant today, even though we're talking about early 1900s, late 1800s, with some famous characters: Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, Etta
Mm-hmm.
Place, Beanie, Aleister Crowley, a couple other characters. Some characters maybe you don't know, but they actually do have a historical record
Yeah.
that played a part in the story that was
Mm-hmm.
just so odd. One of the things that was really weird to me during 2020. I decided to take it upon myself to start writing the script.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to I really wanted to get into showcasing Etta Place because I feel like she, as it is in
Yes.
Walter's book, is the key to unraveling this massive mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know Walter's probably talked about this on the show, and probably some other people that are connected with this work, but it was as if she kind of started like, it was weird. I felt like I was channeling her. All these things started coming to my head, obviously, that I couldn't have
Yeah.
researched, or even like, I mean, there's a couple things about their story. There's not a lot about Etta Place. There's definitely some pictures of what they look like and what they did, and people telling
Right.
stories. And there's lots of books on it. But the things that she was showing me, and I can only imagine it was her, was these just images of things that I put into the script, and I
Yeah.
don't even know exactly how it's going to go, but I know she's going to show me.
Well, I know there's folks out there now, some watching this, that are going to roll their eyes at us and say, "Oh, here we go, the woo stuff." But folks, those of you who know me, heard me talk about this. I've never said, I've never been critical of woo itself, the idea of the existence of the paranormal and strange other things. I've only been critical of fake stories, people, telling yarns that aren't true. Because if I never had weird encounters before 2007, when this entered my life, just the experience alone of investigating the stuff that's in these books, was life changing. In that sense, I had literally paranormal experiences like I'd never had before. Um, and yes, the feeling of a presence, and yeah, what you're talking about, her presence. Now, they're used to hearing me talk about, when I say her, that's one of two possibilities. One, definitely, who, before it dawned on me who Cora Stanton really is, who I'm convinced that she's at a place. I thought of her as Cora Stanton, but then there's that other her out there, Hecate, who's always
There's always
looming,
another her.
right? And but this particular story and the way you've chosen to dramatize it, um, really focuses on Etta and her importance and why she's key, to understanding this whole mystery, just like you said. But it's everybody who has jumped on board with this in some way, including yourself. Um, but the other people that helped me research it, and Rick Spence and Sesh and Dr. Farrell and a few others, they'll tell you that they don't today deny the things that I share in my experience with this, because they experienced some of it too, and it changed their perspective. There's something about this that, like it or not, want to hear it or not, folks, those who jump into it and experience it in any way, even just intellectually, um, it reaches out and touches you. You know, that's for sure.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I know you remember you telling me that, and then I remember like being in my apartment alone and writing. I felt like her presence, and I'm like, ooh.
Well, I got to throw this in there too before I forget, because it's one of my favorite things. I say all the time when people ask me, uh, how do you like Melissa's, treatment or concept or vision of, of the work? And I always start off with, unlike Harlan Ellison, who those of you who are graybeard enough know who Harlan Ellison was, a great writer, greatly admire him, but he would complain about everything and every version of everything. Unlike, I have been very pleased with, from the get-go, from the very start, when you first started sharing with me to the dramatization, I was all prepared, because the Harlan Ellison warning is always in the back of a writer's head. I was prepared. Oh God, okay, let's see, is this going to be an awful Hollywood TV thing? And I'm like, no, she's different, she's coming from a different. And then when you started telling me, I you can tell them I told you. I said, oh yes, yes, you get this. And here's the thing, folks, and this is important, because Melissa will tell you, not everybody in Hollywood who develops things has respect for the source material. She has tons of respect for the source material here. Those of you who have read these books, yes, you're seeing a dramatization, but I think you are going to completely recognize what you see, because your vision is really true to and respectful of the material.
Oh, thank you, Walter. That is like the biggest compliment for anybody trying to develop any work. I mean, that the original writer is happy. I don't think that ever happens.
I truly am, folks, because you guys know me. You guys who know me well, I have a curmudgeon side to me, and if I hated what she had developed, now I'm smart too. I don't, I would just be ultra polite. Oh yes, it's fine. I wouldn't say much, but I'm telling you, I really seriously.
That's like a girl fine. When you say, what's wrong? I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a girl fine. I like that. But from the beginning, I was very happy. I was like, oh my God, she gets it. She understands that the real people in the story really lived, and there's a record of how they were and what they were and stuff like this. But in anything like this, folks, you do have to fill in some stuff for telling the story in the dramatic way. And the characters that you created fit with exactly the history of San Bernardino at the time. There's nothing that comes out of left field of the characters you've created at all.
Yeah. I kind of go back in my head in that moment in time, but it's so weird when you really get into a story, when you live there, you're in that reality, that time. How do people act? Who's getting away with something, and how would they do it? And I think being a strong female, there's lots of depictions of strong females, but there's a soft side to every strong female.
Sure.
Because there's a soft side to everybody. So it's usually depicted as like a woman is weak and then becomes strong because she's been, beaten by the system so much, or she's just really tough and she can kill everybody, and she's awesome. She's like warrior lady. But there's never like a vulnerability, an insecurity that must be surpassed, like a hidden agenda that needs to be devolved, in that character that only the audience can see. And I think besides At a Place, there's some other characters there that they're holding on to a certain amount of power, whether they're good or bad, that I really like playing with.
Yes.
And, yeah. I don't know. I really like there's the main characters in Walter's book, and then there's some added characters that would have been there, if you think about it, in Sam
Yes.
as co-stars.
Yeah, those are the ones that I'm saying absolutely fit with the real, actual history of the area. Like I said, none of your created characters come out of left field. They all fit naturally with the history of San Bernardino.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say, a friend of mine actually who does my podcast with me, Matt, he's a huge fan of your work, and he introduced me to your stuff. And
Cool.
we brought you on the show and everything, and,
Yeah.
and talking it up, and we worked a little bit on it together, and he just, we talked for hours. I mean, there's just so many tangents with your work. You have so much stuff. I don't even know how you keep that all in your mind.
Well, I'll tell you. The audience is used to this, but it's the God's honest truth. Every single one of my books, one led to the other. My book on the esoteric engineering of Disneyland that I published, I wrote in 2006 and 7. That book, doing follow-up research to do a sequel, is what led to Empire of the Wheel 1. And then, of course, there was 2 and 3, but Empire of the Wheel 1 and all that research, the stuff in my first Secret Missions book about Juan Cabrillo, that was emerging during the Empire of the Wheel research. So, and even the one about my dad, everything, all the nonfiction books I've written, they all have the same couple of threads connecting all of them, and one has led to the other. So that kind of makes it easier keeping it all together, to be honest, because it's all out of the same notebooks, right? So
yeah. Well, you're in the same vein of thought. You're like, if you think about it, dissecting the esoteric design of Disney isn't really far off from some of the things that you talk about in Empire of the Wheel.
Well, Sechery started doing the maps of the telluric current ley lines for me for that book. He's the one that discovered the triple telluric current intersection in Disneyland, which the carousel used to sit on top of. And what I was doing was following those 3 lines out of Disneyland through Southern California, and a couple of them lead out this way, and one of them leads real close to downtown San Bernardino. And that researching that led to learning about the ghost story that I talk about, that I learned from the librarian Ann Walker here. That led to the ghost story, which was about Cora Stanton, and everybody knows the rest. So it shouldn't be a surprise when people read the Disneyland book. It shouldn't surprise them what they read in the Empire of the Wheel books. That's for sure, because these people in the spiritualist temple, especially, they were aware of these kinds of things from the very founding of San Bernardino by the settlers.
Yeah.
The white settlers, when they came in, the Mormon expedition, and they, from all reports, they dabbled with this stuff, and I definitely, and Rick also thinks that they took advantage of it in the ways that they thought would serve whatever their agenda was. And the beauty of all this stuff is how it's going to feed the drama of this series that you're producing, is because you can people will see the series, and whichever ones decide to go check out the books, they'll see, wow, they didn't make up this wild stuff for this TV show. This is in the books. That nutty Walter is claiming this stuff, really happened, and with all the speculations and such. So let's see, we're getting up to about the 45-minute mark here. I know a lot of people, because they've expressed this. One of the reasons why they're logging on tonight and tuning in is they want to hear the latest. And so to what degree can we share the development history so far with the dedicated audience here? To what degree? There's some things, folks, we can't share. That's just the nature of the business. But whatever degree you feel comfortable with.
You mean where is it going right now?
Yeah. What are some of the? Can we share with them some of the exciting steps that you've experienced in developing this, trying to get it made?
Yeah, this journey.
Yes.
Well, we took it to History Channel as Yeah. Well. Let me back up. So, scripted deck
Mm-hmm.
and script went to Ridley Scott's company in 2020. It also went to Bradley Cooper's company. This is right before 2020 just took a huge
Yep.
all the magic started happening.
Yeah.
So obviously Hollywood shut down. Pretty much no one knew what was going to happen. They were still Ridley Scott's team was still interested, but but really, if he was going to do a period piece, wanted to focus on Napoleon, and so it kind of got pushed to the side. Bradley Cooper had created a company and had a first look deal with Warner Brothers. And I cannot remember the name of the producer, but they did the Joker together.
Mhm.
And then they looked at it, and then they broke up. They dissolved the company. They no longer had a first look deal, and so that kind of faded away and disappeared. But we're still in 2020. I brought it to a production company that I really liked working with, and they had a good relationship with History Channel. As like, here's the scripted version, but this is based on real events. This would be a great series for History Channel if we did kind of like a hunting for Hitler type thing, but we were kind of hunting for the truth about a place or whatever, right?
That's right.
And it got pretty far. Like we developed it pretty far enough that we had several meetings about it. I met with the about the executive over there, and we got very far. And then it was 2020, and we're like, man, no one knows what's happening. So didn't go. Then we took a couple other avenues. Was that still 2020? 2020 was
No, that had to have been 21 or 2.
21. So then
21. Yeah.
I kind of got wrapped up with some producers that wanted to do the comic book route to.
That's right.
Comic book route to making a TV series, a scripted TV series. This comic book company had a very good track record of selling comic books. They would make it specifically. They take the idea, make it specifically in the comic book, sell that to a network, and be able to create it. But that ended up being a nightmare, and I don't want to go into all the details of it, but it did not work out. That's what I can say. And then I took it back to History Channel through a different company that I have relationships with. It was now 2022.
Yeah, I think it was because you're coming up into last year when we started.
Yeah, what year is this? Okay, so 20.
Yeah, exactly.
2022 brought to another company, and then the History Channel was like, okay, yeah, we remember this pitch. We liked it. There's some really cool elements, but we just need more evidence. So one of the things we couldn't do in 2020 was actually even call anybody at the archives because no one was there because everybody's home with COVID. So there's nothing could move as far as more evidence. So I would say with my direction of my head of what I know the network wants to see, Walter did an epic job of digging up some really cool stuff in the archives. And, one of the things that we talk about not only in this scripted series, but he talks about in his book is that there's the possibility that at a place Sundance and Butch were actually could have been double agents or spies or so there's an
intelligence agents. Yeah. Well, Butch, I'm telling you, you deserve a lot of credit for that because you're the one that pushed for me to look closer at Butch. And when I did, what emerged was a clue in one book, which only one copy that I found, and I pulled that thread, and oh boy, did you and I have changed the narrative on Butch Cassidy as far as I'm concerned. We made a huge discovery of very strong evidence that he was indeed an intelligence asset for the U.S. military. Yeah. Butch, Sundance, and Etta, I already talk about how they could have been government agents in the books, but you pushing for us to look at Butch, that this to me it surprised even me, but there it is.
Yeah, no, he definitely picked up some really cool evidence, and I was just like, oh wow!
But that didn't impress History Channel, right?
It wasn't enough. They wanted a piece of paper that had a government seal on that just said, "Dear Sir, I know for a fact that At a Place, Butch Cassidy, and Sundance are spies. Period.
And yet we
Really?
provided them with
Random
several military records and
Yeah.
documents.
Yeah, that's what they wanted. Smoking gun. That wasn't a smoking
Well,
gun.
we're going to find that smoking gun, and they don't get it.
They actually never said no, but they just like hang on things forever and
Yeah.
we're just over it. So, so now we're at the stage that we are now, and
Mhm.
you know, I had a couple other kind of teams and bigger companies that do scripted kind of look at it, and you know, they're like, meh, they're working on their own stuff, but it's okay. We're now on a different train of talking to people
Yeah.
that possibly could get it fully on the ground. So we'll
Yeah,
let you know.
and that's how these things happen. People don't realize, you know, these things. It's a process, and that's how it happens. Is you just go through a process and you stick to it, right?
That's right. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey for sure, Just definitely a interesting one. Look, they're all interesting. It's
Right.
one of the things that blows my mind is somebody texted me the other day. It was like a friend of mine. She's like, my neighbor really wants to make a TV show, and she wants to know what she should do to get started. And I'm like,
Oh boy.
okay, with no, you know, I don't know. It's just it's all about timing too. I think several years ago, the timing of this wasn't right. I think I just saw a meme today that I laughed so hard, and I sent it to my assistant. I said, "We got to post this," and it was like in a lab, and it was a scientist, and he had his head in his hands, and it said, "Scientists in 2025 are going to run out of government conspiracies to debunk."
Very good. Yeah, very true.
And I was like, oh, that's so funny. So I just think the timing of Empire of the Wheel is right. I think people are really ready to look at some things differently instead of looking at it like from a lens of, okay, only certain people think about this stuff, instead of, you know, people are really questioning, what does this all mean? What if these characters really were something else that we didn't know about? And
Mm-hmm.
what does this mean for me as a person in this lifetime doing what I do? And why is this an important story to tell? And I
Right.
would say there's a lot of things about early 1900s America that I think that we just don't know.
Right.
And I think it's important to shed some light on that, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Well, I think things that are suppressed, with another author who is on here monthly with his research, a guy named Todd Wood. He and I have started a series, started a few years ago, what we call the Lost Future series. And we touch on that theme. We touch on how we were on our way to a 20th century that we didn't get because that century was stolen from us by puppeteers and string pullers and people who wanted it to go the direction that it did. And so, you know, we've done 2 books towards that series, and you know, hopefully we'll be getting the 3rd one out in that series next year. But yeah, it again, like you said, it Empire of the Wheel, you know, the initial story reflects that particular very special era in history. That you're absolutely right. That there's so much people don't know about it that they need to know, and it really would change their perspective on today. You know where we're at today. But now you have, before you go, got a few minutes left here. You other films that you've done. Pardon?
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Let's jump. Okay, folks, you got a few minutes to ask Melissa any questions. So
go.
Remember, put it in all caps so that I can see them and get to them fast without my reading glasses going like that.
Go.
Yeah, it usually takes a second or two for it to show up to ask it. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for a question, tell us real quick about the other film projects you have done or you're in the process of doing.
Hathor Studios did a film last year called Black Knight Satellite I don't know if the viewers know anything about the Black Knight Satellite.
Yeah.
story. I love it. Big fan of that whole thing. But we did a documentary on that came out earlier. That was pretty fun. And then this Code 12. We have another one coming out on the largest meditation study that's been done in the world, and they actually have scientific evidence, not just brainwaves and heart rhythms, but like some really cool, weird science stuff that happens to your body.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Hey, just want to say that Cardinal Sin, who's the got a great podcast show Into the Fringe, says that Cosmic Cantina is on his weekly podcast feed.
Woo!
So yes, you have fans out there. I know a lot of people that when I mention you, they know you from Cosmic Cantina. They go, "Oh, that's your producer." Yeah, yeah. So okay,
awesome.
Here we go. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what this one is. Cardinal Sin asks, Melissa, where did you learn to pitch? And more importantly, how to contact those you want to pitch to? Did that just come through your experience in the industry, or did someone teach you these skills?
Just my experience. I mean, just my experience in the industry. And like one of the jobs I had when I was in my 20s, I worked at Paramount Studios as the executive assistant to the president of Paramount Studios. So I was like, 24 or something. So one of the things that I learned right off the bat is that, we're constantly reading scripts, getting scripts, negotiating with actors and stuff. That's what the whole office is about. Some things I can't talk about. But the one thing I learned was that how something gets made is not like the way that they portray it in the Hollywood movies. I don't know if anybody's watched the TV series. I think it's on HBO called The Offer. No, it's on Paramount. It's called The Offer. It's about the making of The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I said HBO. And it's really well done. And the way that the guy hustles to go from the next thing to the next thing, to not let something fall apart. I mean, that's literally what it's like. And it's never about the fact that anybody thinks it's a great idea. How much money can you make? Who's in it? What kind of favors do I need to do? Like, how does it? What? Maybe I can do this movie, and then I can do another movie because I did this one because it's a favor, right? So it's once I'm able to strip my mind of that, like, okay, I feel like I have something really creative that somebody who is in the creative field will say, I want to work on that, right? Like when other writers read your stuff, you want them to understand, or a director who would be more into the creative vision than they would just the money. You want them to be able to grab that. But when you're talking to studios and business people and money people, they want to know how much money are they going to make back, who's going to be in it, how much people are going to be brought into the box office, all that kind of stuff. It's a stripping down of like all the glory and just into what's the purpose of making this for.
Right. Yeah. You talk about The Offer. My favorite guy on The Offer is the actor who's playing Bob Evans. Hey, fabulous. He's nailed Evans. I mean, totally nailed Evans. It's exactly. Oh, here we have a fun question. Mm-hmm. Melissa, who would you cast as Walter Bosley? Brad Pitt or George Clooney? Come on, I don't even look like those guys. Now, you're more of
a George Clooney type.
George Clooney, but when I'm thin and when I was younger, I look a lot like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I get told that a lot, so that would be my choice. Jeffrey Dean Negan. Although I'm not a Negan type of personality.
So. Yeah, that's. I don't know. We could find that would be fun. Let's see.
I don't know. If we get that far.
Yeah, now
it is, folks, in her concept. Down the road, she will be getting to we call the present day, those years where I and the others were investigating this. That kind of is if the thing makes it that far, there would be a season that would kind of approach that. I don't know. You still thinking of doing that, or?
Well, I mean, it depends on, once we get all these other people involved, how that works, writer's room. But I really see the implanting of the seed of Etta, as we have talked about early in this, is some weird energy that like has to come through, and it's like dying to like be told the story, whatever it is. Like it's just kind of run. And I feel like as the story unravels through all the generations of people who've kind of like who's been affected by this ripple effect, which is what the series would span over until modern day, from the early 1900s until modern day. All the people who it's touched in their investigations and what they've done with the material is telling on why it is important, I think. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Now, quick question. Top of your head, pop quiz kind of thing. Your gut instinct. Which do you think would be a more powerful, impactful presentation of At a Place? A known actress with really great presence, just this ethereal quality, whatever you want to say, or an unknown?
Okay, well, so let me answer that from a creative standpoint, and then I'll answer it from a business standpoint.
Yes. And they are different.
I have some people in mind. I actually don't want to say who I think.
Of course not. No, that's part of the.
We talked about that earlier, but
Yeah.
but there's some really great actresses there that are well known that I think would be amazing, and for creative reasons, not for money reasons. But if there is an unknown, and this person could portray her in such a way, the way that I was explaining how I feel like she needs to be portrayed, like these pieces of her that like have to come out, that are so intricate into the unraveling of the story. I'm totally open to that for sure. Now, from a business standpoint, she's the lead actress. I think she needs to be able to pull the audience in. Like, I love her in XYZ, therefore I really want to watch this. So that's how people make decisions on the millions of shows and movies they have to watch.
Yeah. Well, I and I'm not going to say the name, but Melissa had a name yesterday, and I saw in the document the meeting for possible At a Place, which immediately it's like, oh yeah, heck yeah, she would be fantastic. And I'm not going to say who it is. You're going to have to wait. Malia Grimm asks, since we're on this topic, the ideas for actors in the cast. I guess in general, that's something that you keep close to vest right now, or as far as publicly goes?
I guess not. I guess we could talk about that, right?
It's up to you. You're the one in charge here on this venture.
I guess I'm not going to kill anything. Okay, so this is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
For all of you out there.
Here we go.
I was thinking, there's so many characters that still need casting, but these are some of the main ones. So I was thinking, if you guys remember in the story that there is a police chief, Walter Shea. And what I thought was really interesting was we start off with the death of this woman, and he's unraveling it. So you have two stories kind of running at the same time. One unraveling who she was, so we're going back in time. And the other one is this kind of washed up police officer who thought he was retiring, and he's kind of reliving old demons, unraveling this case. And so that's Police Chief Walter Shea. So that's kind of how we get into this whole thing. So I was thinking Jensen Ackles for Butch Cassidy, Pedro Pascal for Sundance, Anna Taylor-Joy for At a Place. I love her.
There she is. I wasn't going to say, but yeah.
Viggo Mortensen for Police Chief Walter Shea. And then there's some Detective Edward Poppet, Rami Malek. I think he'd be so good because he's kind of awkward. And then there's some other characters that won't make any sense to you because they're created. They're created. But we definitely have some for them too. So that's kind of cool.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And that's, as you might guess, folks, that's one of the most fun things about when you're pitching something, whether it's a series or a spec script or whatever. You get asked, well, who do you have in mind? Who is this for? That kind of thing. And that is that's like the fun side of all of this, because, there's, you want, you'll take, you get, right? That's the old game that was played. So let's see. Let's go to Cardinal Sin asks, what's the best way after optioning source material to develop it into a show or streaming? In a nutshell, What's your best advice on that?
Source material. So like a book, like you have.
Yeah, let's say you option like you did with Empire of the Wheel. What you option a book. What's the in a sentence or two? What's really your advice on?
Nobody wants to do any work. They don't want to visualize your project for you. They don't want to. They want to, like, I optioned this really great book, and here's a paragraph about what I think it's about. Like you really have to put together a deck and of if it's a movie or if it's a TV series, like who's in it, like what's the story, what does it look like, what's the feeling. Remember, the more you give people, the more that they will not have to use their imagination to what you're thinking. I mean, there's people you'll meet that'll just grasp the story and really like it, and of course those people want to do deals with you. The more material you have that explains your vision, the easier it is for someone to understand it.
Yeah. True. Very true. Well, we're up to an hour, and I wanted to keep to your schedule. You're a busy lady. You have things to do.
I know.
And
pumpkin. I've been up since like 4 this morning.
yeah. So I'm gonna let you go here, but I thank you so much for being on with us tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And again, I've been thrilled with everything that you've been doing in this journey of Empire of the Wheel, and it's not over yet. Big things are coming, and I look forward to continue that journey with you. So thank you again for being here and letting me introduce you to my regulars.
I love it. I love talking to your regulars. This is so cool. So cool.
Well,
sorry, turning into a pumpkin.
Oh, no problem. Tell everybody where they can find Cosmic Cantina.
So if you just, unfortunately, some restaurant in North Carolina is called Cosmic Cantina. So we had to create a website that you type in thecosmiccantina.com.
Okay. Well, we'll share that link too. The Cosmic Cantina. We'll spread that link around. And where can people?
Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, any of your major podcasts apps that you listen to. We are there. You can listen to us at any time. We love support. We love our fans. And Matt and Josh, they are awesome.
Indeed. It's a great show, folks. If you haven't checked it out, please do that. And
if you like having a drink, you can have a drink with us, because we're
it's a cantina.
Cantina.
Remember that. The show is a cantina. So there you go. And great topics too. So, okay, cool. And again, thank you. And they should just keep their eye out for Code 12 in the usual places, right? Amazon.
Yes.
Wherever.
Yeah. And again, as soon as I actually I have a place for it and a date that it's launching, I will let you know and let all your people know. Also, you can go to the website, Code 12 the movie. .com and trailer, all the information you need. You can sign up for a newsletter. We'll give you free content from behind the scenes.
Okay, great. Okay, Melissa, thanks again, and you have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Okay. And let me see here. There we go. Okay, guys, that was really cool that she was able to join us this evening. And I hope that gave you guys some a little more insight into what's been going on. As you can see, she threw out a couple of names there that I haven't shared publicly because, you keep that stuff close to vest. But now we're at a point where it's okay to talk about that. As you can see, for the last, 2 or 3 years, I've been fully aware that Bradley Cooper was looking at Empire of the Wheel, and he really seriously, he really liked it. And it was only because that partnership fell apart that it didn't go anywhere with him at that time. That doesn't mean there might not be some Bradley Cooper activity in the future with Empire of the Wheel. But then also, folks, imagine when she told me, this was again 3 years ago, she said, Ridley Scott has the deck. That just blew my mind. So for the last 3 years, that's been another secret about this development that I've been keeping. that Ridley Scott's people still haven't said no. But isn't it interesting that he chose to do Napoleon first? Isn't it interesting that he's got in his hands, Melissa's pitch deck for, the book Rick and I wrote, the series is based on all three of the books, but he's got in his hands some material that this Walter Bosley guy, is the source of, and he goes and does a Napoleon film, which this Walter Bosley guy also has a Napoleon book. I don't know. To me, that's kind of synchronicity. It's in the realm of synchronicities, I would say. Wouldn't you, Malia?
I would.
Yeah. So, anyway,
I'm posting the link for the shop.
What's that?
Can I do the show the website really quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Malia's going to show you guys the website. There she is.
All right, hang on a minute while I pull this up. Not my email. That might be good. Oops. Hang on. Sorry, you can keep talking.
Oh, I can keep talking. Dead air. Sorry, folks. Sorry about that. Yeah. Hey, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check out the video I uploaded last night. We can thank our friend Nick N here. I hope he's still here, but he sent me all this cool model building accoutrement. I'll tell you, between Megalith and Cardinal Sin and Nick and Dr. Uncle Clockwork, the people have sent me all these models, and then Nick sent me all these cool tools and accoutrements. I'm throwing my hat in the ring, and I'm going to be doing real model unboxing and kit building videos. And the first one is posted. And here we go.
They can see it. You just scroll and move. So come up here to click on shop.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
As you can see,
look at that,
get
folks.
Empire of the Wheel now straight from here.
Yes, look at all this, folks. Malia got all this loaded up. This is at walterbosley.com in the under the shop tab.
Cool trucker hat.
Yeah, there's merch that you can try.
Mm-hmm. And there's the t-shirts. Yeah.
And remember to pre-order your copy of Nimza, How America Sold Its Soul.
This one's kind of cool. There's your Lost Continent Library shirt.
Yep. So.
Oh, you just click on stop share.
Stop. Where's the?
Right here.
No, I'm losing the. Okay, there we go.
Oh, because it was on the other.
Yeah. She's got a dual screen. She's got a high-speed professional setup going here.
Sorry. There we go.
As Cardinal says, you'll be the talk of your Facebook model building group. That's right. And I'm in a couple of those, by the way. And one of them is, sorry, folks, the Atlantis Model Company. And I'm in a group of, excuse me here. I'm in the Atlantis Model Company group, and they really liked. I posted Nick's, one of the models Nick sent me was the Atlantic Pop, that's what we call a model kit issue, of the flying saucer from Earth versus the Flying Saucers. Now, these were originally animated by Ray Harryhausen in the 50s, and they were repurposed, at least that style, by Tim Burton for Mars Attacks. So when you see the flying saucers in Mars Attacks, he wanted them to look exactly like the Harryhausen saucers from Earth versus the Flying Saucers. And that's the model kit that I feature in the first official. You've seen me do unboxings before, but now I'm doing it with proper light and a grid pad that Nick sent. Filmed 2 of them, actually. I've just got to edit the second one and put the voiceover and it focuses on a stage of where I'm at with the fuel truck. So make sure you check those out. Soul Light US Expat says the web looks great. Well, we have Malia to thank for that, because she's the one that really, has made that happen. That's for sure. Cardinal Sin wants a t-shirt like the one I'm wearing. Well, honestly, I had this one made back in 2003. And I don't even know if the guy at the little embroidery kiosk, I guess you'd call it. It's in one of these flea market malls inside an old Kmart, and the guy selling the T-shirts is right next to the guy that does the embroidery. So I'll have to check that out, because I like these old shirts I had done, and I'll let you know. Flying Brian has one of the original. This is one of the original shirts before the current logo that you see on the side of the screen here. Cardinal Sin is watching Earth versus the Flying Saucers tonight. It's actually, oh gosh, who was it that sent me a message today? Earth. Max Conkey, who is the guy who runs Max's Models. He said Earth versus the Flying Saucers is better than it should be, and he's right. Yes, Nick. Let me see. Said Nick N. So seems a Latitude 33 sequel at some point, huh? Yes. In fact, I've talked about that for years. I even have a working title for the book. So, indeed, I will be. Some of that, however, Todd Wood can tell you. He and I have talked. Some of the research for Latitude 33, the follow-up, might actually fold into our next book on the Lost Future, because there might be some overlap there with what we're looking at. Megalith asks, did you watch the SG-1 episode? Indeed, we did. We absolutely did, and that was really cool. That was a lot of fun, that episode, the one about the crystal skull. Thank you for telling us to watch that one. Yeah, we enjoyed it. Valley of the Guanji. Yeah, that's another one. I'm telling you, the Harryhausen collection. Wait a minute, did Harryhausen? Yeah, he animated that. It wasn't like his movie, but I think he animated that, right? Oh, thank you. Here's yours, if you want it back. There you go. Okay. Oh, and here's the. Here you go. There's the Cult TV Man. That's where Nick had the models, the Earth versus the Flying Saucers model sent to me. You guys check out Cult TV Man. He really, if you like nerdy, nostalgic items, model kits and stuff, check out Cult TV Man. And he's at culttvmanshop.com. Okay, and tell him that the Walter Bosley channel sent you if you talk to them over there. Soul Light US Expat says, have you seen the new Indiana Jones yet? Just saw that it came out here yesterday. Oh, you guys got it a couple days early then, right? No, Flying Brian is coming up to see the new Indiana Jones film with Malia and I, and we're going to see it in the Mondo Theater they have here in Redlands, which has the big high back comfy seats, that recline. And they have the built-in speakers up in the headrests and down the sides. So we saw last summer, I guess it was, my sisters and mom and I all went to see Elvis. And we saw it in one of those theaters so that the sound was, wait a minute, did I see it with them? No. My kid, my daughter, Liliana, I think, took us for my birthday present. That's what it was. Oh, I stand corrected. Um, yeah, saw it with the household here, and the sound in those theaters, it's really good, and the screen is really big. So we're gonna see Indiana Jones and the uh, Dial of Destiny. I had to pause because I've been calling the title a derogatory alternative. I've been calling it the dildo of destiny just because, I'm worried about this picture, the dildo of destiny. I guarantee you, some porn company, that's what they're gonna, that when they do their adult version of the Indiana Jones movie, it's gonna be, something like that. So I'll be giving my, you know what? I just realized I've got to go live after seeing the film at some point this weekend to discuss Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Should we,
Should we what?
we should probably tell them at some point about the drawing thing.
The what?
The drawing thing, remember? Where I do the burning thing on all your
Oh,
copies?
yeah.
I,
We need to introduce that. When do you want to? That's up to you.
You've got the stuff right next to you.
This is how big. Oh, do you want me to show them?
I don't care.
Yeah, let me. Oh yeah, this is some artwork here that Malia does. What's that?
If you can with the green screen.
Yeah, this is showing up. I don't think they can see it with this kind of light, but she does these intricate. I mean, this thing is amazing that she's done here, and she's doing bookmarks and stuff. But what we're going to do is we're going to have her. You know how sometimes the shows have someone, a sketch artist, doing things as we talk. We're going to start doing that with Malia on some episodes, where you see her talent at leatherwork in beading and stuff. So yes, that's maybe we'll do that when I'm discussing the Indiana Jones movie this weekend.
Oh,
That would be cool. So yeah, look for that, and I will do my best to not give any spoilers. But let me see.
Oh, he wants to see the bookmark. I'll show him.
Oh, okay.
It's right here, right?
Right up there. Will do, Cardinal Sin. Will do.
Maybe I can do it.
Cardinal Sin says, and the adult version of Indiana Jones will be better. Oh, see, this is the bookmark that she made for me.
There we go.
Yeah, look at that. This is so cool, and she's doing all these other, amazing patterns. This is really cool, and what I like about it is it stays better than a paper one, because the leather just holds. Just really, it's great. It's great. So it's cool. It's very cool. I love my bookmark. Let's see. Nick N says, Walter, I really enjoyed the old movie walkthroughs. I'm sure others did too, but as time permits. I've been wanting to, I'm committed to presenting more, entertainment videos, episodes and stuff for the other side of this channel. So this channel is a house, and, Wednesday nights tend to be for, what I do with my nonfiction hat on, my researcher hat on, but like the model kits and the past movie reviews and stuff. I want to keep doing that kind of stuff, because when Lost Content Library started, it was fiction and entertainment, and I still love that stuff, as you guys know. So I want to do some, movie walkthroughs. I like how you put that, Nick. That's the best way to describe it. The movie walkthroughs. There will be more of those in the near future. Uh-oh. There we go. Cardinal says Liliana spoiled him on Thai Food Forever because she is a chef at a couple of has been a chef at a couple restaurants in this area, and she's presently a chef and manager at one that I took Cardinal and Malia to when they were here for the Empire of the Wheel tour in October. And yeah, oh yeah, it's impressive. She's an impressive chef, that's for sure. I mean, imagine for the last several years, you know, I've had expert gourmet pad Thai and pad CU and all sorts of Thai dishes here at home. And Flying Brian Myers, Indiana Bones, and the Dink of Destiny. Oh, hey, Brian, we have to get our tickets ahead of time. I will text you with the link and the seat numbers that Malia and I have selected, and you can jump on there and grab your ticket in a seat next to us, like as soon as I send it to you. So anyway, that's how that goes. Is you have to get them ahead of time because it's nowhere near sold out, folks. I got to tell you that, nowhere near. But there's still some great seats left. There's a few great seats left, and that's what I want, are great seats for this. Flying Brian has a worse title, but not for kids. So I hope that having Melissa on, shed some light on, for those who don't know, have never experienced this process of getting something developed and produced, shed some light on that process. I also hope that it shed light on the whole Gaia thing. And I brought up something, there are people out there in our community, and I know I can be a critical guy of some things, and I have been very critical of some things on Gaia. But you have to remember the people on the production staff, okay? They're doing a job, all right? They're not necessarily, in fact, they're usually not the people that are coming up with the ideas that are discussed. And, it is a fact, unfortunately, that the people who have to get the guests or the subjects and the topics, they don't always have as much time as you think to vet the sources and the people. And the problem with that is, if they're not allowed to take the proper amount of time, you get debacles like Corey Good and some of the other nonsense that has, honestly come out of Gaia. But in our community, people have a tendency to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay. Now, I'm telling you, her vision of Empire of the Wheel is fantastic. I'm very pleased with it. You see, the people who have also been very impressed with it. Come on, Bradley Cooper, Ridley Scott, come on. So, I met her at Gaia Studios because I was asked to be on one of their shows, right? Sean Stone's. I never would have met Melissa in the Empire of the Wheel development. It wouldn't be happening had I not said yes to a show. Now, here's the thing. My view is this. If you're critical, say, of a network, and you think, they only have, storytellers and liars and, knuckleheads on their network. Well, don't you think that's even more reason for, if you're considered to not be one of those people and you don't consider yourself to be one of the goofballs, don't you think that it's a good thing that if that network, whatever it is, comes calling and wants you on one of their shows, isn't it a good thing to go on their show and at least be, one of the better or potentially better guests, or more reasonable, respected, so to speak? I guess I'm respected. I generally don't say no to shows. That's the kind of junior officer I was in the Air Force. There was one day I'm at Wright Pat, and I'm chief of the ops branch and all this stuff. And there was one day where I was, lamenting and whining, to one of my most senior NCO, and I said, "Gosh darn it, you know, there's other junior officers in this detachment. Why is the colonel always coming to me to do this stuff?" And he looked at me, the senior NCO, he looked at me quietly, smiled. He says, "Mr. B, you want to know why?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd really like to know why, because I'm, busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, and he's asking me to do more." He says, "Mr. B, the reason he asks you is because you always say, 'Yes, sir.' And you do. You just do it. You say, 'Yes, sir,' and you do it, and you deliver." Well, that kind of made me feel, silly about that, small and silly for whining about it. But it also makes you feel good because you military folks, coming from a senior NCO, that's what we call a compliment. So I have the same philosophy when it comes to, what I'm doing now. If somebody wants me on their show, fine, I'll go on their show. Now if they show me disrespect, they'll get that back. But part of what you're doing here when you do this media stuff is, you got to get the word out. It's promotions, right? It's a way of advertising. So yeah, I don't care what kind of reputation a network has. One of their hosts wants me on their show, I'm going to go. And so this is why I've been on Gaia shows twice. I've been on Buzzsaw with Sean Stone. Nice guy, by the way. Really, really nice guy. And I've been on Beyond Belief with George Noory. And that was a totally positive experience. And let me tell you something about Gaia. They pick you up in a nice, limo, SUV limo, and you stay in nice lodgings. When I was on Sean Stone's show, they put me up in this historic old hotel, which is really nice. And then when I was on Beyond Belief, they put me up in an even nicer hotel, and George, just as professional and nice as he could be, and it was a positive experience.
Everything looks fine, but they're saying you lost audio. It
What?
looks okay to me.
Who said I lost audio?
Where did it go? Frozen. Brian says, down.
Wait. Go backwards, right?
No, yeah, regular. Frozen.
Oh, okay.
It just went away.
It's okay, I guess.
It says it's good. Okay.
Oh, okay. Good. So yeah, and yeah, I did Buzzsaw when the early in the days of the SSP Storyteller Liars were really just getting started there. And I did Beyond Belief well into the era of, when people were beginning to be hypercritical, even of anybody who would appear on that network. So I'm not a fool. It's easy when you're not, you don't have a horse in the race to just write stuff off and, pass judgment on it and such. But, someone wants me to be on their show, I'll be on their show. Now, I've done shows, of course, where, you go on there and the audience are a bunch of assholes and they troll you. You're always triggering some people. I'm always making some people clutch their pearls just simply by being a former OSI agent, because of all the, quite frankly, dumbasses who measure all former OSI agents against Rick Doty. Now, I've only communicated with the man briefly a few years ago. It was a nice, courteous conversation. I don't have an axe to grind on Rick Doty, but Rick Doty is not the example of an OSI agent, whether some people want to believe that or not. And OSI is not the deep, dark man in black enemy that they've been painted to be by opportunists in the UFO um, industry of our community. Okay, there's a lot of people with just ridiculous ideas because they enjoy the conspiracy theory circle jerk. Okay, and what do I mean by that? We all, I totally, I've written about conspiracies I think are real, and I put stock in some conspiracy theories, but you guys know what I mean. You can cross a line to where you don't believe anything, you don't buy anything, okay, question everything. That doesn't mean so literally that your brain falls out. Okay, so yeah, so I've done shows where half the audience hates me. They don't even know me. Let's see, a recent one. They didn't like my confidence. Oh, he's an egomaniac. Oh, his ego bothers me. Ego? I'm confident. And some people in our community, our society, don't like that. They want you to be be yourself. People who know me know that I'm well, where'd she go? Oh, well, anyway. So, I'll do people's shows. I don't care what others think of, the platform that show's seen on. Oh, boy, getting dry here. So, any more questions about Empire of the Wheel TV development or what's going on? I can tell you the meeting we had yesterday was exciting, and things could be moving well forward relatively quicker than the last few years. So so there you are. Am I an egomaniac?
Yes.
She says yes. So okay, well,
it's the great Walter Bosley.
That's right.
Don't forget.
It is I, as Cardinal Sin says. It is I. So, all righty. Well, folks, it's been an hour and 37 minutes. I thank you all for being here. I think this was a really good episode, really important episode. Revealed to you, how serious Hollywood's taking Empire of the Wheel. Yes, Melissa.
Did you want to talk about what the Confessionals podcast at all?
I kind of just did without identifying it.
I wasn't even.
When I was talking about an audience that I made some people clutch their little pearls.
A Laji and a Grotter.
There's some people. Look, there's some people out there that, my God, they believe the Bob Lazar story. They believe Stephen Greer. And folks, by now, you got to be a fresh noob, okay? Or you've got to be an idiot if you believe the Bob Lazar story or if you believe Stephen Greer, okay, folks? Come on. And when you say anything about them, the true believers get all pissy in the comments, and suddenly you're an egomaniac, or you're a this, or you're a that.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. So it is going to be just like the Corey Good followers, and I don't think any of those people are credible. Not Jason Rice. Jason Rice is like the most polite, nicest guy of them, to be honest. You kind of half want to believe Jason Rice, but just you got to realize, he ain't telling the truth any more than the other ones are. Randy Kramer, full of shit. What's that?
We call him Lou lies a lot.
Yeah. Lou lies a lot all the time. It's you come to a point in the UFO community where you come to a point, honestly, if you're rational and you're being honest with yourself and others, where you do that kind of polite step back and gently, you've all been to the party that you don't want to be at anymore. You want to, and you do that polite step back and the quiet side step to the door and you get out. I think if you're honest with yourselves, and others, most people seeking the truth, a lot of people tend to do that with the UFO community and ufology in general, is they just do that quiet step back and sidestep out to the door and just, really step away from the community because there's, nonsense involved. But anyway, I want to remind you all to go to lostcontinentlibrary.com and walterbosley.com. And is there anything else that I need to?
Destination Carcosa.
What about it?
We're going.
What's that?
We're going.
Oh, yes. I guess we can mention it here now.
Sure. Why not? We're doing
Folks,
it.
if you want to go on a trip, on a tour with us, we are putting together an Ambrose Bierce and Richard Burton secret missions trip. And this is going to go down to sites in the Yucatan and then down in Brazil, Lake Titicaca and Altiplano to Tiwanaku and Pumpunca, and then Lima, Peru. And we're putting together the final details for this. And watch the website, watch here for more details as they develop. But this is going to be the beginning of our literary tours that Malia's company, LGH Services, but Hidden Manuscript Tours.
Yes.
That's her company's LGH Services, but she has come up with Hidden Manuscript Tours. And I'm lucky that the stuff I write fits right into that theme. So we'll be kicking the first one off with this Burton and Bierce Secret Missions Tour to the Yucatan and South America. So more on that coming soon. Daninsky, as I said before, I don't give any credibility to Bob Lazar. I think he's full of... no credibility there, in my opinion. And that was proven decades ago. And yet there's a bunch of people that just want to believe whatever they hear. So that's what I think about that. So anyway, I think that's it for tonight. It's been an hour and 45 minutes almost. And that's enough me for any of you. So I'll thank you all for being here. And we'll see you next week with Todd Wood.
Yes,
already, again.
California.
Another California episode, folks. And the week after that, we have Brad Olson. And then you guys are going to like this. Let's see. July 26th, I think it is. Scott DeHart. Dr. Scott D. DeHart will be here discussing Percy Shelley and who really wrote the novel Frankenstein, plus the hidden and arcane alchemy involved in its themes. Folks, this is going to be a really cool episode. And then in August, looks like we're going to have David Hatcher Childress here to talk about the Calm Empire. I'm telling you, folks. Oh, and by the way, Dr. Joseph Farrell is going to be rejoining us any day in the next week or couple of weeks because
on the reading
he's, as soon as he gets the weather and text situation settled down, he's going to join us. And here's the Childress book. If you haven't got it, look for it. The Lost. That's what I thought it said. The Lost World of Calm. So there we go. We'll be talking about that and how it relates to, my research and what we do around here. So thank you. And folks, my throat is really dry right now, so I got to go. And thank you all again. And we'll see you next week for Todd Wood in California. And there we go. I'm just trying to find